All right, here we are, and welcome everybody to the workshop. And in this workshop, we last week we made some covers out of different materials, and Gina had a really cool one. She did. You felted it, Gina, and you put a cat on it, and so that's what she made. And she put some cool. What was that? I don't know. Was that a paper or a fabric on the back?
Looks like a marbled
Paper.
A marbled paper. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Um, so you did felt and paper. I've never done a felt cover before. Did you felt that yourself, Gina?
She said no.
No. Oh, she.
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
All
I
right.
um I purchased it at Joanne Fabrics. The green color that I picked out was actually to make a St. Patrick's Day kitty for my mom.
Oh,
So I had plenty left over.
that is one bright book. Yeah, I know. It's that green is just like we're making a tote with a lime green color like that for this weekend. Three different size totes for this weekend. But yeah. Okay. So last week we did covers. This week we're gonna cut them out of the paper or whatever fabric we used, and then we're going to sew it up with the two-section journal, so you can see again how this two-section journal gets sewn up. Gina, if you want, you can send your cover to us. You can cut it or we'll cut it if you tell us the size, but we'll serge around it for you, so you have more of a this kind of a you see the serge on there.
Yeah, that's really
So
nice. I have a couple of your journals that have that.
yeah,
You get with the
if you wanna
papaya.
send it to us and just email us for the address and stuff, we will search that for you for free. And for anybody who wants some sewing done, that's part of being in the group. We'll just do that for you here. We've got a lot of commercial machines here. They're really awesome machines, um, and they do a good job. Plus, the operator does a good job too, which is usually Joelle. And Kara's learning how to sew on those machines now too. So anyway, okay. So this week, let's switch over to my table here. All right, this week these are the tools, just the punch, the scissors, a knife, and a hammer, or this is a scratch awl, I guess, and a couple needles because we need two needles for this stitch, some super glue because we're going to be using the polyester thread to sew it up, a lighter maybe, and here's our templates. So this is the template you have a pattern for, and if you got that email this morning, you will have seen it. And this is complete. Here's the thing. So like for for your um, for your journal, Gina, you can take that solo template from last time,
Uh-huh.
and you see, I don't know if you can see this, but
I'm see-
there's 10 millimeters in between the two holes. Okay, let's see here. See those two holes? There's 10 millimeters in between them. All you got to do is make that cover the same height and make it 10 millimeters wider, and then just center your two holes on the center part. That's all you got to do to make a solo journal
Okay, so
like
I
this.
already cut out a template because I added a quarter inch all around, like you said, 10 millimeters or a quarter inch when we were talking last week. So I already took that into consideration. So it's a quarter inch bigger all the way around, top and bottom.
All right, so you got to cut. We'll make any corrections there that if you send it to us to serge it,
Okay,
because it might be a little tall, but in the width will be
that's okay.
okay.
I was gonna trim it the size anyway.
Oh, so let's get started here. First thing we're going to do is I'll make a sole, and this way we'll broadcast the stitches down a longer length so you can see better how to do them. Um, Kara, could you have Joelle grab me? One sec, Kara. I'm asking Kara to go get something for me.
Uh-huh.
Could you ask Joelle, go grab two soles, sole arch paper, and have her give me a template, punching template, the paper. I forgot the paper, so I had to
Arthur,
ask Kara to get that. Yes?
What's the total size of the board itself?
Of the Soul or the Pathfinder?
The sole that you have in front of you.
This is 12 3/8 by 9 1/8. Thank you.
Okay, that's for the double? Okay, I'll just trim it.
Yeah, off the top, right. And your width should be fine because it does overlap. The leather overlaps the paper a little bit, so you should be good there. Okay, so let's cut this. So the first thing about cutting, the most dangerous tool in your workshop is a dull blade, because dull blades, you end up forcing them, you end up using too much strength, and they ultimately will cut you. And so we don't use a dull blade. So the first thing we're going to do on here is figure out, we have our cover, which is now blurry. Two people in the waiting room. There we go. Ouch. Well, let's see if I don't know why that is all blurred there. There we go. So I'm going to pick what side I want on the front. So I want this side on the front, actually, because it looks better. And why is that camera doing that? There we are. I just like how this side looks better. And so that's going to be my front. The front of your journal is on the right side here. For our purposes, it's got the two close together holes up there. And let's get a little more zoom here. Yeah, it's got the two holes that are closer together up there. And so that's the top, according to how we sew it. And then, so this is going to be the right when you fold it over. Anyway, so when you cut, when you cut with your blade, you don't want to angle it like really acutely. You want to just keep it as low as you can on the board, and then just cut and cut in between your fingers. You know, like I'm holding my fingers here. I'm going to make my cut from here to here, and then I'll scooch my hands over. And when you cut first, push down. Don't start sliding your knife. Just push down into the material you have. And especially if you're like Gene and you're cutting felt, you need to have a really sharp knife. So right there. And then I'll start there. Now if you have a stretchy material, then you want to make sure that you push that end down. Here, I'll show you here. That end right here, you want to make sure that that's down pretty tight when you come with your knife, or it's gonna stretch out on you. It'll just pull it out, and your corner won't be square. At the bottom, and then the left side. And make sure everything is cut before you pull your template away. There we go. That way everything just ends up cleaner. Okay, so there we are. This is our waist right there. And then we're going to take our little scratch awl here, and we're going to mark these holes. Just push down and mark. This is a pottery tool. You can get it anywhere, any pottery store. Get it online. They're like a couple dollars. They're in the list for our materials that we use and suppliers. Okay, so that's all marked. Now you've got your holes on here. You can't really, I'm sure you can't see them in the camera, but they're there. And then just take a little punch. This punch is about, I should have looked at it first, but this is about a 2.5 millimeter punch. So, and this comes in a kit with a whole bunch of different sizes that screw on. That's also in our supplier list. So just take that and mark and punch out your holes. Next week we're going to cover, making custom sizes, 2-section journals, how to do that. So if you have a size in mind, we did that for the single section journals, and this is going to be pretty much the same thing, but you'll have more pages. And if there's a custom size you want to see made, then mention it here today in the chat, and I'll try to actually get that all set up so we can make a custom size for you. All right, so there's our cover, and you can see all the holes that are punched now. And then we're just going to round them, and I don't have any change, but you can use a nickel, a quarter, a dime, a penny, whatever you want, and then just put it on the edge and trace around it. Maybe you don't even want your corners rounded. If you decide to do it manually like I'm doing it, make sure you take at least 3 cuts. 1, 2, 3. Here's 4 even, to get a nice round on there. All right. Let me make this a little better. Oh, here's that paper that we had, that really variegated looking paper. I love this paper. It's so beautiful. We could actually make it this way too, with the paper on the outside. But I like the leather on the outside. That's just me personally. Okay. Next thing, we're going to take our text block, and you have that. We'll cover how to make these. I think we covered how to make these last week. We'll cover how to make a custom size one next week, and you can just apply that to the Pathfinder or solo size or whatever your size is for this week. But for now, this is our solo size. The final size on these is 5.5 by 8.5. So when you unfold them, it's going to be 8.5 by 10. Okay, and then you fold it in half. No, 8.5 by 11 actually. And you fold it in half, and you just got a regular sheet size there, or a regular 5.5 by 8.5. Okay, so to do this, we make a template, and actually I have this one will work too. I made this last week, but basically what we do is we take a piece of paper. If you've made your text block, we pull out the center sheet, and that comes out, and then what we do is we make sure it's the same height, like this, right here, and we put it on, we center it on the cover, like that, and then just mark where the holes are. That way, when you stick it back into your book, your book will be all centered if you punch your holes right. And then we just move these out so they're a little wider, like that. I'm just doing this again because I've already punched it on this side. So, okay, so once we have that done, then we'll stick them inside of our book, like this. And I'm going to switch the camera. And here's how I punch my stuff. So I hold it with the heel of my hand and my bottom 2 or 3 fingers. I just hold it tight up as close to the hole as I can.
Arthur, could you talk about how we can punch holes in fabric, perhaps felt?
Punch holes in fabric?
Yeah, like felt.
Oh, same way. Use the punch. The question was asked, how do you punch holes in felt? So it's the same way. Just use your punch. It'll go through felt. It'll go through fabric. It'll go through anything. And the nice thing about the unscrew ones, if you use them a lot and you break them, sometimes the tip will break with a lot of use. Then you can just replace it, and the tips cost about $5 each. You can get them anywhere. It's a standard size. This is an Osborne tool. It's in our supplier guide. Okay, does that answer your? I'm assuming that was for Gina because she has the felt
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, Gina, just use a punch, and use a plastic hammer with your tool. All right, so this will get put right in the center there, like this, and then we will close it some, and so see how I'm holding it here. Then I stick my like that.
I have one more question. Is this better than using a cradle? Is it easier?
For what? A cradle?
Yeah.
What is a cradle? So I'm trying to blow out the holes here. I'll switch the camera back now. So you can see inside what I'm working with. And then I'll just push that through. You want to make really sure that your finger's not where that hole, that exit hole is, because if it is, you're going to punch right through it. And it hurts, let me tell you. So I go like this because I want that hole to be bigger. There. And I'll do another one here. Watch where it comes out. See, right in between my fingers there. You got to know where that hole is going to be. And then when I'm in the center, I'll just twist the book around like that, and I'll keep going. Now, when we get into the 3, 4, bigger journals, this gets to be more, takes longer to punch. But now here you are with the holes right there, and you can see how everything lines up.
Okay.
Here's how you see how everything lines up with the holes I punched. Let's see if I get that a little closer. Okay, there it all is right there. Okay, I'm going to do this on the second one while I listen to the question that someone asked.
So Rachel wants to know why not use the punch to punch the paper hole.
Why not use the what?
The punch.
The punch?
To punch the paper.
Oh, because your holes come out. The question was asked, why not use the punch to punch your holes? And the reason that we don't do that is because the holes come out too big then. They're never too big. So you want to use some kind of an awl or punch to punch them. If you have a fatter awl, then it's good. What happens is when you punch this, you're not punching a hole in the paper and removing material. You're just putting it through, blowing it out, and over time that paper will start to close up again. So I just think it provides a better stitch, and so that's why we do it the way we do. It's a tighter stitch. And the last one here. All right, now we got our 2 sections, and we're going to sew it up. Here we are. So how much thread? We're going to use this polyester thread, which is more difficult to sew with, but it matches it kind of well, so that's why we're using it. For this journal, you want to go 1 inch over on each side, approximately, and 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, right there. It's not rocket science. It doesn't have to be exact. Just 6 times. That's a little bright. Oops. Trying to adjust.
Good. That means we can see the stitching.
Yeah, that's why I have the lighter thread here so you can see the stitching on it. Okay, so then here's your 2 needles. You want to thread each needle through. So here's this one. Now with the waxed linen thread, it's easier because you can just twist this up and it'll stick. But with the polyester thread, it doesn't. So I make the tail actually pretty big on there, like that. And then on this one, do the same thing.
Kathy wants to know, she's asking about punching each signature separately.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what I just did. So the question was asked about punching each signature separately. That's what we did. Each one of these is a signature, and I punched them separately like that. There. So does that answer your question?
Well, I think she wants to know why we didn't just do it all together. I think that was kind of the question.
You mean put all these together and punch them?
Yeah.
Because first of all, it just keeps everything separate. But secondly, that's a lot of paper to punch. I don't think I could push through all that paper. And I want things to be accurate. So the smaller you work with stuff, the more accurate your holes and everything are going to be. I mean, these are right on. The holes they're all pretty much the same, and they'll be centered on the book. So that's why. But practically speaking, I couldn't punch through all of them at once. So, and the other thing is, when you punch your hole, you see how this leather, or how this there's these little blowouts over here. These little, how the paper moves out. That goes all the way through the book, and so when you do it that way, this acts as a unit. It's not as likely to even like this, when I'm putting some pressure on it, it's not, now it's started, but they stay together. It's like they fit together because of all the paper running in the same direction on the inside. I don't know if that explains it very well, but okay, let's sew this up. So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit here, just a little bit. There we go, and get this sewn up. Okay, so what you want to do when you start, and you're going to do this for each section, take one needle, and you see the second hole down, you're going to go into that. Oh man, we're working on getting other cameras and stuff for this. I am just, this just is frustrating. There we go. It's frustrating because how this camera focuses. All right, there we are there. Okay, so there's that on one. You can see how that came out there. We're going to take our other signature, and we're going to do the same thing. Put the needle in the second hole down, come out into the front, into the inside, and then go back out to the front side. So this is basically what you've done, like that, and then pull it. Oopsie. See, this is the thing with nylon thread. It comes out. It's nice to have all the colors, but it's kind of a pain because it keeps coming unthreaded. That's why I make these tails so long. All right. Now we're going to equalize these and just pull on it. And so what you have is this right here. So you went in the second hole, you came out the first with each of your threads. And now we're going to put it into the book. So basically lay your book down like this, and it's not required or anything, but it's nice if you take when the book will be closed, you take the signature that's closest to that hole. So the bottom one is going to go through the first hole like that, and the top signature will go through the one on the right, and I'll show you what you have here in a second. So you see, this is how it is. So basically, that's how my threads are. So when the book closes, this one is on the right, this thread is on the left. Like that. All right.
How many pages are you including in each signature, and what is the weight of your paper?
The paper is 120 grams, 120 GSM. This paper is. You can use copy paper too. And I put 10 sheets per signature. So the second, you can put more. We put up to 12. Once it gets past 12, it gets a little bit crazy because of the creep on the paper. We'll be discussing paper creep next week, if you don't already know what it is. So now that you've got your threads out here, go ahead and go through the second hole. And so you've done that. It comes out. And back in through that third hole like that. And with the polyester thread, you can pull a little bit tighter than with the wax linen thread. It just works better because it's slippery. And then here we go on the second one. See this? Here's my needle. I'm going to put it right through that same hole as before, the second one, and pull it taut. That's the other thing. When you're sewing, you want to pull always in the direction that your thread is going, that you're moving. In this case, we're moving down this way, so we want to pull our threads down this way, not up, but the same direction we're moving. Hey, for those of you who need to leave, it's a little after 12. We are going to be sending out a recording of this video. So, but if you want to stay, this will take another 5 minutes to sew up. There we go. So one of the problems with polyester thread is you see that? You see how that just came right out there? And we've got this loop here, and here's our thread. That's because of how the polyester thread slips. So you really got to make sure that you're not pulling too hard on that. You're taking the tension out, but you're not like yanking on it really hard, or else your thread here is just gonna. I'll do it again. I'll show you. See that? And you don't want that to happen. And it only happens on the first stitch. So, okay. So what we've done is we've picked up our thread and we've crossed over to this part. I'm sorry, to this part right here. And now we're going to come back. We've gone under this thread here, and now we're going to come back and go into the same hole we came out of, which is the third one right there. And there you are. So at this point, tension up your threads so they look good at the top, and keep your threads parallel there too. All right, next, drop your thread down one hole and just come out like that. Get this parallel. There we go. And there. Okay. Now we're going to take our thread right here. This one, we're going to pick up this thread, and we're going to go over the top of the first one and underneath the second one. You can see that over the first one, under the second one. I mean, you don't even have to cross them. It's just a look. It's just an aesthetic thing. And then same deal. Come underneath this thread here, and then over the first thread you come across, and under the second, like that, and then back into that hole right there, and then drop it down one. And basically that's what we do the entire, oops, that's the wrong hole there. That's what we do to sew the entire book. So right there, and I'll just speed through this, and I'll just make a few comments as I go on the way. Let me know if you have any questions as I sew this up. So I'm going to go under the two threads over here. Yeah, there we are. Under the two threads right there, and then back down into that hole right there. And then I'm going to drop my needle down one hole there, and that's that. And then I'm going to pick up my other thread and kind of do the same thing. Over the first one, under the second thread there, and then I go under both of these, and then over the first one and under the second, and back down into that same hole right there. Sometimes it's hard to get that second one through without splitting your thread, so I'll open up my book like this, and I'm holding it. There we go. And then drop down to the next hole. So don't expect perfection the first time you do this. If it is perfect, that's awesome. But it takes a couple times. And then feeling how the book is held takes even, it takes probably about a half a dozen times. After you've sewn like a half a dozen of books this way, this is going to become second nature to you. See, I just dropped down again there. And going over the first thread under the second. This just keeps repeating itself. So your book can be as long as you want. Under the 2 threads over there, then back here over the first one under the second, and back into that same hole. And
John wants to know, can you take out the stitches and do it over if you don't like it?
yeah, of course. Oh, John, did you hear that? I forgot. The question was, can you, if you don't like your stitching, can you just cut it out and do it all over again? Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, if you have a cover you like so much, you want to keep the cover, you can just undo it, put the journal pages that have already been written in somewhere, and sew new ones into it if you want. So you can do that too. All right, here we are again.
And Rachel says that she would use binder clips to hold the cover side of the signatures to the cover while sewing. Would that be wrong?
Kara, why don't you unmute yourself, because I couldn't follow that.
So we have a question here about using binder clips to hold the cover side of the signatures to the cover while sewing. Would that be wrong?
Hold on. Hey, Joelle, could you let Randy in? He's over at the door. Okay, repeat that question again. Binder clips? No, I don't use binder clips. It just makes everything too structured, and it's just a lot more difficult when you use binder clips. I hope that answers your question, Rachel. Let me know if it doesn't. Okay, so here we are with this. Over the first thread, under the second one, and then underneath those 2 over there. Back this way, over the first, under the second. And find the hole. Can you see? Just right in there, I'm just looking for the hole to put the needle through. And so that's one of the reasons we don't use binder clips too, is because you can't do stuff like that with a binder clip. And we've just found over time that this is the easiest way to sew it. The quickest, the easiest, and the nicest. Gets the best result. All right, again, I'm going to cross over, go under those 2 threads, back down here, there. Now you may like these twisted, and so if they twist, that's totally cool. No worries. It's your aesthetic. This is my aesthetic. Yours is going to be totally different. I mean, I would never think to put a felt cat, or a cat of any kind, on the front of a journal cover, but seeing Gina having done that, that's pretty cool. There. Okay, last one. Last hole here. Go into there, same deal, except we're going to tie it off at the end. So just I'll cross over and go under those 2 holes, those 2 threads right there. And then I'll put it back into this hole, and I will tie it off. I'll show you how we do that in a sec. There we go. All right, so give that a little tug. Make sure it's tight. Then I hold my book like this. In fact, I'll bend it over. And I'll go from right to left and catch that little loop right there and pull that down. And then I'll go from left to right. Same deal, catch that little loop in there and pull that tight. The polyester thread is a lot harder because it's slipperier. And then I'll just go 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And I'll cut off the tail. Carefully you don't cut the whole thing. And then you can wait till you're done, or you can do it now, but I just put a little dab. Here's some super glue, Loctite super glue. I'll just put a little dab right there. And that will make sure, even right there some, so this doesn't move around when you're writing in your book. So it'll stay put. All right, last hole here for this side. Again, over the first thread, under the second, and then go under both threads there. And then coming back over the first thread and under the second, and put it in this hole and do the same thing here. When you sew up a book like this, first of all, they lay flat when they're open. You don't have to fight with them to lay flat. You can write right into the gutter of the book, right to left there, and then left to right on the knot. And yeah, they're just so much nicer. See, look at that. It's just laying flat. And you can bend it over on itself and it won't hurt it. Okay, 1, 2. You can go more than 3, you can go less than 3. It doesn't really matter. And then cut that and super glue it a bit right there. And that's it. So here's the sewal journal. Right there. And that's it. So any final questions? Unmute and ask. Nobody?
How come when you smush the super glue with your finger, you don't get stuck to everything?
Because I don't let my fingers sit there on the super glue. I just keep moving. Did you notice how I kept moving it? Yeah, if you leave your finger there, you're just going to stick. There's no question about it.
I love you, Rachel. Well,
Yeah, Rich, you got to move that finger. Any other questions? Okay, we will see you next week. I'll be sending out the replay tomorrow or Friday, and I got to create a template or instructions for making your own custom sizes. So be thinking about your own custom size journal. Email me, service@innovativejournaling.com, but you can just reply to the reminder emails that I send out, and tell me the size. If you have a particular size you want me to make, then put that size in there, and we'll make a custom size journal from that, from calculating it, and we'll try to get the cover done, and then we will finish it up the following week with the stitching and everything. All right. Last call for questions. All right. See you all later. Great having you here.
See you later.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Bye.
much.
thank you.